Hello, I'm Jakvard. I will now try to summarize my thoughts and impressions of this game after spending about 7 hours with it. There have been ups and downs, anger and laughter, and overall I would say that I've had a pretty good time. But this certainly isn't a flawless experience, and there were a few hiccups along the way. Welcome to my closing thoughts on Stoneshard in 2025. The game begins with a prologue, where you take control of Varen, an old man that together with his party was looking for treasure in the form of a stone shard in an abandoned monastery. Turns out though that the monastery is far from abandoned, and Varen and his companions are either killed or taken prisoners by a cult conducting various nefarious rituals and the like. One of your companions is lying dead in your cell, but instead of mourning it's time to break out and find the rest of your party. Stoneshard is a bleak game with a very grim setting that I appreciate. People are starving, there are bandits or necromancers wherever you turn, and in general everything is pretty dour. This setting works very well for this kind of unforgiving game where death lurks around every corner. Gameplay is turn-based, and every action, for instance moving or attacking, is considered a turn. This means that there is plenty of time to consider your options and there is no need to stress or make any rash decisions. Of course, I would still rush headfirst into multiple situations before the game slapped the stress right out of me. Don't die. The game heavily favors a cautious approach, as your line of sight is obscured by pillars, trees, houses, etc., and it's easy to be surprised by enemies hiding behind something. You also have access to an examine surroundings skill, which reveals hidden traps that you then can disarm. The prologue introduces the various mechanics in a well-structured manner, and overall I would say that the tutorial is very good. It teaches you about the healing of various body parts with healing salves, stabilizing injuries with splints, and resting to recover your health. On top of this, you also need to manage your hunger, thirst and tiredness so that your character can perform with maximum efficiency. The entire prologue is fully voice acted, and this is my first gripe with the game. The voice acting is very good and really helps setting the tone of the game.
Curses. Doesn't look like we won that fight. I need to get out of here before this bastard returns. Looks like my shackles are rusted to the core.
But as soon as the prologue is over, the game has no voice acting anymore, and whenever a game does this, I can't help but feel a little cheated. The game has given me an impression that is false, and that impression might just tide me over Steam's 2-hour mark for refunds. I think this practice is sneaky, and even if it's not a big deal for some of you, I still think it's important to point it out. After the prologue, we get to choose our character for the main game. There are currently 5 presets to choose from, but it looks like the possibility to make your own character will come in the future. I chose to go with Arna, a sword and board maiden knight that has the unique trait of Vow of the Feet. And what you will notice very early on is that this game loves its small percentages. Take this unique trait for instance, -3% to cooldown duration, -3% to ability energy cost, and -3 to damage taken. These might be all well and good, but it's not exactly anything that gets me excited. But it's just a starting skill, you might think. Well, here is a dagger I found towards the end of the series, and it also has the same small stat increases. Again, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but for me it's more interesting getting an item that has 1 good stat increase rather than 4 mediocre ones. It's personal preference, I guess. Now, my main quest is to get a carriage so that me and Varen can go to Bryn with the Stoneshard. Before we can get the carriage though, I need to perform some tasks for the locals, and this is where the game proper starts. This game is unforgiving, which I noticed straight away after the tutorial when the game decided that now the gloves are coming off. Yeah, don't die. This was not helped by me picking a skill that was supposed to provide me with a buff when I was skipping a turn. I have not yet been able to see this skill activate, and as far as I know, it's bugged. This, coupled with the save system that only saves when you sleep in a camp or in an inn, made me a little bit frustrated. I think that this game would benefit from having a Dark Souls-like save system, where progress still had been made even if you die. I'm talking specifically about the need to pick up quests and speaking to NPCs again if you die without having slept before heading out. It feels weird to have this current save system, since with the line of sight mechanic, it's very easy to get overwhelmed and there's a fair bit of trial and error. Enemies could still respawn, loot could be dropped, and in general the game could work as normal, just without the need to have to retake quests or repeat conversations. Anyway, during my first excursion outside of the starting village, I got my ass handed to me over and over again. But after enough trial and error, I chose another skill instead that would daze and confuse opponents. This worked much better, and suddenly, the game clicked with me. I completed a few quests, killed some zombies and bandits, and had a pretty good time. The only thing missing was fun loot, as the only things I ever got were some rings giving minuscule changes to health regen, a belt and some gloves, all of them pretty boring. I would like the game to have more fun loot and maybe make the combat just a little more flashy, as more often than not the combat devolves into two characters just bumping into each other. But at the same time, I get it. This isn't Diablo or Path of Exile, nor is it Dark Souls or Skyrim. This is another type of game, more geared towards a different audience. This game would appeal more to a tactical player that carefully thinks about their every move, a player who does not see the small increments as only that, but pieces these together to a bigger whole. This game asks you to be patient, thorough and careful. And if you're willing to give it that, then it will be a rewarding experience for you. How much do you have left? Oh no, I attacked. I didn't mean to do that. Inspect. Yes, 13 health. Inspect 4%. Let's hope. Yes! So, my closing thoughts. This is a good game with a dark and grim setting that will kick your ass if you're not careful. It's difficult and requires planning and forethought, but if you're willing to stick with it, I think it may very well be worth it. I would like to see more voice acting in the game, so it's not just in the opening hours. The save system would be better if it was more akin to that of Dark Souls, and the loot could be improved, as what little there was not exciting. I will look forward to Stoneshard's official release and might just jump back into it when that day comes. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Don't die.